Where are you zooming in from? There we go. They're coming in now. Fantastic. And feel free to post a business name if you would like to do a little bit of networking as you're welcome. Welcome. We have some Halifax, some Toronto. Welcome. Please post in the chat where you're calling from. Oh my goodness. Now they're coming in like crazy. This is fun. Welcome, everybody. It is so great and such an honor to see all of you amazing business owners today. Just watching the numbers to see when we might even out. Hello, Melissa, Tanya, Mike. Oh my goodness, it's just going so fast. Wonderful, wonderful to see you all here today. Welcome, welcome, Angela. Greater Downtown Debert. Perfect. As you're coming in, we welcome you to introduce yourself in the chat and tell us where you're coming in from. Just watching those numbers. Welcome again. I'm going to start, and as people are coming in, I'm sure they'll see the chat and introduce themselves. It is, again, just an honor to work with you as amazing business owners today and provide that information. And thank you to the generosity of our panel members in sharing their insights today. I'm Judith Richardson from the Center for Women in Business, and where we call Mount St. Vincent University home. And I'm leading the project on advancing supplier diversity in Atlantic Canada. I want to make sure that I tell you a little bit about the Center for Women in Business, and for the past 30 years, the center has had the distinct pleasure of serving women in business. And we look forward to sharing our plans to celebrate our anniversary with you, including a number of ways that you can be involved. So I will post both our newsletter and my email and chat. Over those 30 years as well, ACOA, the Atlantic Canada Opportunities Agency, has supported our journey of ensuring women business owners have access to our services through the full continuum of entrepreneurship, a true enabler and partner in moving women's entrepreneurship forward. We have a deep and evolving working relationship with COA and appreciate it greatly. At the end of our panel session today, we are honored that we've been doing some great work with WBE Canada, and we will have some exciting new initiatives for Atlantic Canada women business owners that I'll be telling you about later. I do want to go over a couple of logistics. The call is live, and if at any point you need clarification or have a question or comment, let us know in chat, or you'll also see at the bottom of your Zoom screen Q&A, and you can submit your question there. Both chat and Q&A will be monitored, so we'll see what you put in there. The call is recorded, and the recording will be shared with all who registered. The Q&A, however, will not be recorded, and only presenters are going to be on camera. So you'll be muted and off camera for the duration of the session. So chat and Q&A are going to be your friend. At this time, it is my pleasure to welcome today's presenter and moderator, president of Women Business Enterprises Canada Council, or WBE Canada, as we all affectionately know it, Sylvia Pencak. And Sylvia is going to introduce our amazing panel. Welcome, Sylvia.
Thank you so much, Judith. And once again, welcome everybody. So happy to have you. And Judith, always pleasure to partner with CWB, Center for Women in Business in Nova Scotia. We've done a lot of projects together over the past couple of years. And once again, we are off to different heights together. So there's a lot that we are cooking together in partnership with CWB. So once again, my name is Sylvia Pencak, and as Judith mentioned, I'm President and CEO of WBE Canada, Women Business Enterprises Canada Council, and we are a non-profit organization certifying Canadian women-owned businesses and helping them land corporate and government contracts, access large supply chains, and become really eligible for corporate and government supplier diversity initiatives. So our certification is recognized in Canada, US, and globally. And to summarize from last week, supplier diversity is a business strategy adopted by large corporations and governments to ensure diversity and inclusion in their supply chains, to create opportunities for a variety of diverse businesses like women, Aboriginal, visible minorities, LGBTQ2+, people with disabilities, and others. So according to Accenture, women make up about half of the world's population. They own 35% of businesses, but earn less than 1% of the money spent on vendors in large corporations and governments. Governments and corporations are unable to make use of diverse suppliers at the moment globally. And sadly, this is true not only about low income, but also about high income countries. Social innovation is needed. And this is the topic of conversation for today. We are going to look behind the scenes how corporations, governments, and women-owned businesses work together to change these statistics and to really ensure that women are represented in supply chains and that supply chains have solutions that are relevant to women. So in addition to providing a pool of verified suppliers, WBE Canada also champions corporate and government supply diversity initiatives by providing tools, resources, networking opportunities with suppliers, sharing information from supply chains with women entrepreneurial communities, and so much more. So WBE Canada works with both sides of the equation, with women-owned businesses as well as with corporations and governments. So for those of you who joined us last week, you already received more information. For those of you who need to review last week's webinar content, just let us know, email us at events@wbcanada.ca, and we will be happy to send you the recording of last week's session. So we have a lot to cover today, but before we dive into today's topics, I want to quickly introduce my panelists. So if I can ask my panelists to turn on their cameras, please let your audience know your name, your title, your company name, and brief information about your company and role. So I'm going to start with Aaron Moscoe from TPS Promotions and Incentives. Aaron.
So I'm trying, Sylvia, my camera's, oh, there we go.
That's what happens when we make you turn off your camera, right? Like turning it back up.
Thank you. So first, it's a pleasure and an honor to be here. I'm one of the founders and the CEO of TPS Promotions and Incentives. We are a promotional product supplier to companies large and small across Canada, and with global partnerships that allow us to execute for our clients globally. We're located in Markham. I am a lawyer by training, but an entrepreneur by passion. We've got a team of about 50 here in Markham. We love what we do, particularly because we get to work with some really amazing supplier partners and fantastic corporate partners.
Amazing. Welcome to today's discussion, Aaron. Denis. So Denis Garagan owns Denny Dealer Services. So Denis, tell us a little bit more about you and your company.
Hi, thanks everyone for inviting me today. I am the president of Denny Dealer Services. We incorporate products to automotive dealers, RV dealers, fleet accounts, warranties, reconditioning products. We focus on the green, eco-friendly. The world's changing. We want to change with it. It has become stagnant. Excited for this event, number one, as a women business owner, but number two is seeing the growth of women business owners and helping to support. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for joining me, Denise. So next, I'm happy to introduce Kelly Brown from Export Development Canada, EDC. Kelly?
Hi, Sylvia. Thank you very much. My name is Kelly Brown. I'm a Senior Procurement Advisor and the Supplier Diversity Champion at Export Development Canada. EDC is a financial crown corporation that equips Canadian companies with the tools they need to grow their business with confidence.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us, Kelly. And Lisa Haydon from Pivotal Growth, Inc.
Hi, welcome. Great to be here. Thank you. I'm Lisa Haydon. I'm the founder of Pivotal Growth and a WBE certified business. Pivotal Growth is a technology-enabled leadership development consulting company. Our diagnostic tool accelerates how companies and leaders develop prioritized action plans aligned to their goals. We organize hundreds of data points for complex companies. Our results lead to cost-efficient and data-backed decisions that enhance the performance of leaders. I'm really excited to be here and obviously an active member of the supplier diversity community. So happy to join this conversation today.
Yeah, thank you for joining us, Lisa. So again, last week, what I did, I introduced supplier diversity and WBE certification. So we had lots of time to discuss, how supplier diversity works. And today I invited the four of you to actually help our listeners and our audience to see how it actually looks behind the scenes, how supplier diversity is creating the opportunities for diverse suppliers. So I am going to start with Kelly. So Kelly, EDC is Canada's national crown corporation, and your organization made a commitment to supplier diversity about 2 years ago. So tell us, where are you at on the journey? What is happening at EDC, and what did the process look like?
Sure. So our supplier diversity journey began a little over 2 years ago, like Sylvia mentioned. And since we've been working to develop and grow our strategy as well as socialize it throughout EDC. We spent a lot of the first year kind of establishing the foundation. We confirmed executive sponsor. We identified a supplier diversity champion within the procurement team. We built our understanding of supplier diversity with the certifying councils, like the roles they play. We became corporate members of the certifying organizations, including WBE Canada, and started participating in events to get to know the suppliers and build their understanding of our procurement practices as well. We also compared our list of suppliers with the certifying organization's supplier list to identify where we already were working with diverse suppliers. And then we updated our supplier registration process to include questions on supplier diversity. So then we could collect that information and start building our database of suppliers. So last year, we turned our focus a little bit more on our competitive procurement processes. We updated our notice of proposed procurement, asking suppliers to identify within their letter of interest whether they are a certified diverse supplier or if they self-identified. We also committed to sharing 10 of our competitive procurement processes with the certifying councils. When I say share the processes, it's just a notice of the process to direct them to where we actually post our processes. And last year we exceeded our goal by sharing 12 processes rather than 10. And out of those, we had 6 suppliers submit bids and 5 diverse suppliers qualify on some of our supply arrangements. So that was pretty exciting. Some of our goals for 2022 are to up the number of processes that we share from 10 to 15, and we're about halfway there at this point. We're going to identify line of business champions within our different business groups at EDC, and that way we're hoping to kind of foster the relationships, because we're meeting suppliers at all these events we're attending, but then we want to make those connections with the people that are actually making those decisions as to what they're buying. We also want to develop internal and external web pages. So our internal buyers can go to that web page to get information on supplier diversity, as well as what we're doing for our external suppliers. We're also planning on embedding supplier diversity into our procurement policy. We're not quite there yet, but we're working on that right now. And then lastly, we want to host a matchmaking event where we'll define our specific requirements. So again, we're still working on this, and then reach out to the councils to help identify the appropriate suppliers to join us with this event. So we're pretty excited about that one, and lots of planning to do still on there. So it often feels like our program hasn't moved along very quickly, but when we kind of reflect on where we are in the few short years that we've actually made a lot of strides to put EDC in a place to help diverse suppliers.
And I must say it's impressive and really incredible, because in short 2 years, you've done a lot of work, and you are actually already awarding contracts, to diverse suppliers. So I know about WBEs who got contracts with you, and they are super excited. So I just want to say, no matter what stage the supplier diversity program development you are at, you are able to make impact in a community. So from one contract to you started with 5. So no pressure, meeting those goals and overcoming them in the future. So I heard a couple of really cool statements. So first of all, you are very strategic. So it looks like you have a roadmap around how you are going to embed supplier diversity into your procurement, which makes me very happy, because it tells me that once you do that, you will never go back and just stop using diverse suppliers. So that is what I'm always happy to hear that is happening in Canada, because it means that the future looks pink for women-owned businesses. It looks positive. So thank you for doing that and doing the due diligence to embed it. So now let me ask you, Aaron. So TPS is a supplier to large corporations, and you serve as a connector between smaller product suppliers to large corporations, large supply chains. So tell me more about your program, how you are utilizing supplier diversity, and what does it mean for smaller diverse businesses?
Sure. Thank you. So first thing I would say is that our program is very values-based, and it's much easier to set priorities and bring initiatives to life when your organization and the people in your organization know why. So for me, that's really 3-pronged. One is do the right thing. And in my background as a lawyer, I have engagement in human rights advocacy, where 25 years ago, we were talking about things like stereotyping and prejudice, but also about inclusion, unconscious bias, access, removing systemic barriers. And this is very much the conversation that we're having today. So for me, that first pillar is do the right thing. The second thing is I honestly believe that this is about doing what's better for your business. And if we look at diversity, both in terms of employee diversity, supplier diversity, it broadens perspective, and a broader perspective helps you make better business decisions. So that's the second pillar for us. And the third is really the alignment between the two. Alignment to me between those two shows authenticity. And then the corollary to that is alignment with your customer values. And so this is a piece of the puzzle for us. As you mentioned, Sylvia, we work with clients, both large and small. Our clients include Fortune 500 companies and local Canadian companies across almost all industries, automotive, CPG, financial services, pharma, media and entertainment, restaurant and food services. And what's nice for us is our supplier base is both local and overseas, but we really like to support Canadian businesses and provide diverse suppliers with the opportunity to share their compelling value proposition. So that's in large part what our initiative is about access and inclusion, so that we have the diversity of perspective and the diversity of offering to be able to do what's best, for our values and for our business.
Amazing. I love that. I love that there is actual business case behind supplier diversity, and you are looking into it, and you are identifying it for yourself and for your organization across the teams. So that is really great to see. I'm going to go to Lisa now. So it seems like supplier diversity presents a great opportunity for women-owned businesses. So tell me, how did you come across supplier diversity, and what did it do for your business?
Thank you, Sylvia. I've been a WBE certified company for 4 years now. It was a conversation with a COA's Carly Campbell that led me to be certified. And when I was sharing with her some of the corporate work I was doing with big corporations out of Toronto and how I saw my path to growth being in that Toronto market with those big corporations, she recommended that I look at supplier diversity and look at WBE Canada. And so I went away, did my homework, and obviously with what WBE offered and my clients that I wanted to meet and sell my services to, it was a great fit. So I certified from there. And from let's look at sort of some of the compelling reasons of what it's done for my business. B2B sales can be hard. And what being a WBE member has done for me is it's taken months and hours and months out of my sales efforts. So selling to companies like RBC, EDC, and Bell is really complex. There are many potential buyers. And even though, the best practices would be you'd go into LinkedIn and you'd research it, it still is a very cumbersome way of trying to figure out who you need to talk to. And so these big companies have complex buying processes, and there are many potential buyers. So for me, what's happened is that by getting access to these WBE corporate members, they can clearly let you know if they are in the market for me, it'd be professional services. They can say, yes, I have buyers looking for professional services. I don't have a need for professional services. Our vendor roster is really good right now. So you get really good clarity of where you need to put effort. If there is a need for me for professional services and pivotal growth services, what that WBE corporate member has done is then said, okay, well, here's the buyers that would be who you need to talk to. And then even more importantly, they have introduced me to these potential buyers. And by these introductions, these buyers, and they're buyers that I wouldn't normally have access to, we've been able to get to really great conversation. So, and amongst the connectivity of creating engagement and sales opportunity, the other benefit that I would say I would offer is the other WBE business owners. And in particular, that really stood out in 2020. So 2020 was a really rough year for many of us in entrepreneurs, and it was a very rough year in my business. My pipeline and work really just diminished. And it was the WBE meetups that became part of my support network. I accessed some really wonderful other business owners going through similar situations. You didn't feel alone. They supported one another. And so that's been, the WBE business owner community is part of my network, and I value my connectivity with them. So it's about not just being able to build my business through the corporate members, but it's also this community that's part of the WBE Canada organization.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you for noticing that. Many times, our WBEs forget that there's not just connection to big corporations and governments, but there's also fantastic network among WBEs. So thank you. Thank you for pinpointing it. So my Denise, same question for you. So you are a newer WBE, right? Like you just joined us recently, and I just have the same question. How did you come across supplier diversity? What made you to decide to get certified? And then what was your experience so far?
So I am WBE certified just almost a year ago. And what had happened is previously, before that, always been a member of Center for Women in Business. Once we started in our reconditioning, detail and products. And during COVID, just before COVID, I'll back up a bit, I was given the rights to Canada. And then March 13th happened. And then we were like, wow, we can't fly anymore. How do we grow our business across the country? So I was speaking to one of the business advisors at Center for Women in Business, and she actually said, Denise, you've grown beyond us. I really believe you need to take this next step. And I was concerned because we were starting to grow. Would I bring value to it? You always worry and think if you're trying to grow too fast, during a time, but it's been an amazing experience so far. We're working on several accounts, I will say that, which is quite rare for somebody just starting new. And I find it's not just the WBE community. One of the accounts are in discussion with us because of my certification, and they are not even a member. So it's respect you're given. They know what you've gone through to become a certified member, and within the community, I've been given valuable advice, that sometimes as entrepreneurs, we can't ask ourselves questions. So who do we ask? We want to ask people who are going through it the same way as we are, who started the same way. And, we had a panel I was talking to, okay, you just started to grow. What did you do? When did you ask for money? When it's not just about getting the accounts, it's about the relationships of people, the opportunities, the team. And as Lisa said, when we were going through COVID, it was so nice to know we could talk to people because our world did change in a matter of days. And it was, I'm sure a lot of people didn't want to get out of bed that third week in March, and entrepreneurs, you're thinking, how do we do? But we've made it. Those who have made it and survived, I think the opportunities now to work together, we realize we need to be more unified. We need to support each other. I've been in automotive almost my entire life. And I've always said, I've worked with men my entire life. And I said, I never wanted to be given something, but I wanted an equal opportunity to achieve it. And that's all that I've ever asked for, is just to listen and support us, not to be given something just because of who I am, what I am.
Yeah, awesome. Great points. Fantastic points, Denise. And I know COVID pandemic had a great toll on all of us. So whether you are on the corporate side, right, or buyer side or supplier side. So it is going to be really important to be working together out of it and rebuilding even better. So, Okay, before we dive into other questions, I would really like to get to know our audience. What do you think? Same, right? We want to know who we have on a call. So we prepared 2 questions for you. So Jonathan, if you can please pull up the first question. So we would like to find out what is the geographic footprint of your product or service delivery? So how is your business local, provincial, regional, national, international? Help us understand where you are at. And thank you for responding. So by regional, we mean, let's say Atlantic Canada is the region. So it's larger than provincial, but not quite national. Okay, good. Jonathan, can you show us the results? Okay, so we have businesses that are local, about 22%, 17% regional, 17% national, and 44%, almost half businesses sell internationally. Fantastic, wonderful. So now, Jonathan, if you can pull up the second question, are you currently selling to corporations or government organizations? Yes or no? This one is easier. Not too many options. Okay, awesome. Jonathan, can you pull up the results? Okay, so we have about 60-40, so 59% yes, already selling to corporations and governments, and 41% no. This is very helpful. Thank you so much, everybody, for responding. So again, thinking about that, we have a variety of responses. So about 60-40, 60%, working already with corporate. So we'll have to discuss both scenarios. So help those who are new to this corporate and government environment, and help also those who are already selling and the opportunity that supplier diversity represents, and also explain the differences in smaller scope businesses, selling locally as opposed to nationally, internationally. definitely. So, Kelly, I'm going to dive into supplier diversity and certification. So, from the corporate perspective, from the buyer perspective, why is certification important for your organization, and how can it help suppliers?
Sure. So certification is important to EDC because we're a large crown corporation and we're not in a position to vet suppliers ourselves to ensure they truly are 51% or more owned and operated. So we rely on the councils to perform this function for us, and this allows EDC to more rapidly do business with more diverse suppliers. And then certification for suppliers then opens doors for corporate organizations like ours that requires suppliers to be certified.
Okay, awesome. Lisa, I'm going to go to you. What advice you would give to other diverse businesses looking to sell to large corporations and governments? Let's say they are not yet certified. Would certification help them or not? And then any other tips or recommendations?
Yeah. So I think I'll tell a little bit of story from my own perspective and experience. And so one of the things, when you start your business, you think you've got this great idea and you've got, this differentiation and value. And I like to think that Pivotal Growth has a differentiation. And yet there are lots of other professional services companies who want to sell to the WBE corporate members. And vividly, I remember a one-to-one meeting I did at an early certification. And while I didn't love what the buyers said to me, what they shared with me was really important for me to hear. And the feedback was that I wasn't telling the story of what my company could do in a differentiated way. The buyer was struggling to figure out how he could connect me with his organization. And so that was an eye-opening experience that, I thought I was pretty good at this, but, in the, 10, 15 minutes that they give you in these one-to-one, I didn't do a great job. And so what I've done as part of my WBE membership, I have gotten phenomenal experience at talking to a lot of buyers, and it's allowed me to evolve my positioning and collect some really great feedback. I think we all experience when you sell to these big corporates, oftentimes you'll have a meeting. First, if you can get the meeting, and secondly, when you have a meeting, there's sometimes they just don't get back to you. You get ghosted, and so that's a really hard place to be. And that's why this feedback loop with the WBE corporate buyers has just been very invaluable. And so for me personally, I've been doing corporate sales and enterprise sales for most of my career. This is my comfort zone, so I do enjoy it. For anyone doing B2B sales, I've got 3 suggestions that I think would benefit you, and as coming into WBE Canada helps you leverage the way you interact with the corporate members. You need to be clear on your ideal client. So it is about knowing that the corporate members, these financial services institutions, the accounting firms, the telecom firms, the accounting firms, companies like Aaron's, they are your ideal client. EDC, they are your ideal client. That's exactly who you want to sell to, and you're clear on that. The second is that, selling to big corporations takes time, effort, and discipline. There is no easy button to this, and being WBE certified isn't the easy button, but what it does do, it makes it easier. And I think the final advice that I would share is that it's about coming into any interaction with certified or non-certified, being prepared and being clear on your value proposition, being able to talk about the results and impact in a differentiated way and a concise way. And my honest answer is I am still working on that. And yet, being part of the WBE community has allowed me a number of opportunities, many more opportunities to practice that and get that vibrant feedback loop. So I hope that was kind of what you were looking for from my own experiences.
Absolutely. And just something that I want to mention, I think you said it, but I just want to really highlight it. Certification by itself doesn't give you contract. You don't get contract because you are certified woman-owned business. You get contract because of the value of your products and services. You still need to deliver on your promises. You still need to provide great customer service, etc. So supplier diversity is not social assistance. You are a woman, so now we are going to throw money at you. Like supplier diversity opens the door, but you still need to sell and do your due diligence. So yeah, good points, Lisa. I really wanted to highlight it because I know sometimes we dance around the topic and people are like, well, I'm certified. Well, okay, that's the start, but now what's next is your product or service. So any other tips or recommendations, benefits of certification, Denise, that you would like to highlight?
The thing that's there is the fact you need to use it. You need to go to the meetings. You need to go to the roundtables. You need to accept exactly what Lisa said, feedback, and you have to listen to them, not just get out there and just go blurt. You got to listen to their needs and wants. And, I heard very clear on one of the roundtables and went back and restructured eco, green, friendly products, because we have a catalog. So I was like, what will entice people to deal with me? And so it's not just about expecting it. It's about bringing it to the table and delivering. But being a member and having a certification, what I found, and the biggest thing for me, was the confidence it gave me. Going through the certification, which is, it's a little bit of paperwork, which we will all say, but it gives you more opportunities I would never have had before. So it's worth every paperwork that you're doing, every bit of it. But you have to attend, you have to join, you have to ask questions. You can't just sign exactly what you said and expect it, but it gives you more opportunities to get it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good, valid points. And I also like to say, yes, there is paperwork in certification, but if you are not willing to go through it, how in the world do you want to sell to large corporations who will ask for even more paperwork? So, yeah. Okay, Lisa, there's a question from Jill regarding your comments on show how you are differentiated. What do you mean by that?
The differentiated is that what is unique, what is compelling, so that they can really get a sense of how they then internally sell your company. So they can't just say, I met this great professional services company. They do phenomenal leadership development consulting. You need to talk to them. What's the and more specifically, what's the impact or result that is connected? And Denise, I think you it picks up in your theme. It's understanding, how you fit with their needs and address a specific area that they need. So, for example, if they are having to really get their leadership team really accelerated, well, how does working with Pivotal Growth help them in that area? And being really clear in that story and information that's provided.
Yeah, thank you, Lisa. So now, Aaron, can you please elaborate on how you find the diverse suppliers and how you support them? So how in the world do you find those suppliers in Canada? Oh, I think you are muted.
So thank you. First, I will say it's a challenge. We hear from certified diverse suppliers that they have challenge breaking into the corporate purchasing. But honestly, it's a challenge for us to find them. It's one of the reasons we joined WBE. In fact, in our conversation with Sylvia, she offered to say, I won't put your contact information out there if you don't want. And I said, no, please do. So we do have a section on our website for supplier diversity where we encourage certified diverse suppliers to contact us. I would certainly echo, it is very much the earlier comments. We're not working with a company because they are diverse. We're working with a supplier because they have the right value proposition. So if we're looking for, a recruitment company, for example, we hired Three-Step Recruitment, happens to be WBE certified. Well, they had access to us in part because of certification, but we chose them because their value proposition was the right value proposition. And so we're happy to be engaged with them. To date, we're only members of WBE. We chose WBE because we really believe it's where we could get the most immediate and significant impact. We participate in the Supplier Diversity Acceleration Program and so forth. And for us, it's also, through the roundtables, we've met some incredible companies. Take Drizzle Honey, for example, where we're looking to work with them, but we also were able to help them and make introductions and help them understand the opportunity in our industry. So those are rewarding experiences for us as well. And personally, I also participate as a member of the Diversity and Inclusion Committee on our industry board, our industry association, and then in other organizations like YPO, which is a network of over 33,000 presidents and CEOs worldwide. And all of these organizations are looking to enhance participation from diverse participants.
Mm-hmm. So the opportunity is out there. Amazing. There is a question, can you define value proposition? So what are you looking for when you are looking at diverse suppliers? Like who stands out to you?
I'm happy to tackle that. So to me, the value proposition doesn't come necessarily from being diverse. If we're looking to hire a law firm, a graphic design company, cleaner for our facilities, an embroiderer to embroider the goods that we sell to corporate clients. The value proposition would be unique to the requirement. And certainly, I echo Denise's comments is that we're seeing more and more demand for eco-friendly products. So if somebody comes to us and says, we'd like to be a supplier to you, we see you work with such and such companies, and for us, they have to have, if it's a product that we're reselling, they have to have, they have to have the right access to inventory, the right quality, the right pricing, the right turnaround times. And if they align from a values point of view in terms of diversity, compliance, sustainability, that all forms part of the value proposition. We are choosing suppliers primarily based on the value that they have to our business. For us, the supplier diversity element is making sure that there's access to genuine opportunities from diverse suppliers who might be facing systemic barriers or unconscious bias, or the buzzwords don't matter. It's more about making sure if you're a freight forwarder and you wouldn't otherwise have access to have a conversation, with us or with a client, you now have the opportunity, and that's a concerted effort to make sure that those opportunities are very real and genuine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great points here. So there's another question, and I'm like, you see me taking questions as we go along because I think they fit into the conversations that we are having. So another question came from in here, what measurements do you use to track progress? And I think I would like to ask you, Kelly. So as you were developing your program, you most likely looked into what do we want to track, what do we want to measure, and how do we measure the success and whether we are progressing further in the right direction. I know you hinted on it in your initial statement, but can you just mention a couple of things that you are looking at?
Sure. So we're still working on our reporting and how we're going to be reporting the right information. But so like I said before, we reviewed our list of suppliers, or we compared them with the certifying councils just to see who we were already doing business with. So we're reporting on the spend that we have with diverse suppliers. We've been reporting or keeping track of the competitive procurement processes that we have been sharing out to the councils, what interest we're getting back, and how many suppliers are winning those awards or being awarded a contract or being part of our supply arrangements, because we have a few different supply arrangements. And then just how many suppliers are registering with us that are diverse. But we're still working on all of these metrics and what we should be keeping track of.
Yeah, awesome. Aaron, anything else that you are looking at through your supplier diversity?
And so for us, we do look at, we're developing our metrics. That's part of the participation in the Supplier Diversity Acceleration Program, where we are making some conscious decisions. So for example, we have suppliers come and present to our team. And so we're allocating a certain number of those spots to diverse businesses. And as I mentioned, quite honestly, sometimes it's a challenge to find the right businesses. So our metrics are around opportunity rather than spend per se, but we have a compliance manager internally, and so we're working on those metrics right now.
Mm-hmm. And I'm going to again highlight something that you mentioned, like while you were talking, and you mentioned that sometimes it's a challenge to find suppliers in specific categories. So I just want to say to the audience that's listening in, we are still in early stages of building supplier diversity in Canada, and we do not have enough certified suppliers. Some categories, like we have 0 suppliers. So this is still early stages. Fantastic opportunity to get certified and get in front of the corporations and governments who need to diversify their supply chain. So if you are still not sure, my strong recommendation is if you want to sell to corporations and governments, just utilize certification as the additional, marketing tool for your business. You are not going to be sorry because it actually works. We are looking for way more businesses to certify. So I am going to ask you, Dennis, about, I know you are highly engaged in our community. You attended a couple events trainings that we did, but I want to ask specifically about events. You were mentioning that WBE Canada provided opportunity to connect with corporations and buyers. What types of events did you participate in? Which ones are your favorite and why? And what opportunities opened up?
Well, I'm really looking forward to the in-person event in November, I will say that. But I did attend the virtual roundtables, and they were well done, well presented. You knew in advance who was going to be there. You had an idea. You had 2 minutes to basically sell yourself. But I look at WBE, they helped me get through doors that were locked, that you were trying through LinkedIn, as someone mentioned before, research who's a person you talk to. And that takes a lot of time. So that's what I've gotten the most out of it. I'm very excited. And I haven't even been awarded a contract yet. And I look at the value of being a member, there is no price tag on that. I actually eliminated some of my memberships, but I'm staying with WBE and Center for Women in Business because it's been the biggest support I've had. And, the current opportunities that are out there, sometimes we wouldn't know it. Like you post. I received the email. We all did. Hey, we're looking for this, this, and this, and this. We would have never known that. And again, with Aaron, I will be reaching out to Aaron. So here's another opportunity. And just going ding, ding. And there's always value points, or you say, hey, I know somebody that can help you with that. Mm-hmm. Again, back to a team. We're all in it together to make sure we win.
Yeah. How about you, Lisa? Because you've done way more events, even before pandemic. So which ones are your favorites?
My absolute, also I'd say the corporate buyer would be anytime you get the one-to-one. I love those opportunities. So pre-pandemic, they were 10 minutes. In virtual, they were 2 minutes. So we got really good at doing the pitches. And then obviously from connecting with the other WBE business owners, I love the meetup events. So those would be the ones. And I, like Denise, I'm looking forward to the fall conference and being there and seeing folks. Because I've been fortunate to build some great relationships, and I've missed seeing many people. And in the line for food and coffee creates some phenomenal opportunities for conversation. And actually, just a quick side story. One of my opportunities came out of waiting for my coat with one of the corporate buyers from Bell. And so, so there's just sort of some really interesting opportunities that surface when you're in person. So yes, I'm with Denise on that.
And I'd like to add one more thing, if I could.
Sure.
It's how real the corporates are with us to the respect they give us in return, you're very comfortable. Exactly what Lisa said. We're having conversations. We're not like sweating and everything. You're having a direct conversation. And that is very nice. That helps.
Yeah. Awesome. I do want to move on because we have so many more topics to unpack, but I do want to ask Jonathan if you can post the link to certification page for those who are interested in certification and joining our community and getting in front of corporations through supplier diversity. So just a quick reminder, our certification is verifying your status as a business owner. So we look at majority, 51% or more ownership, management, control, and independence. So you cannot be aligned with another business that is not diverse. And our certification is actually renewed on an annual basis. We constantly look at did the business change? Did the business structure change? We want to make sure that only eligible businesses get in front of these opportunities. And there is a fee, and it is $750 a year, which is, believe it or not, about $2 a day. So if you can give up coffee for a year, coffee, mocha, kala, dodo, whatever, costs you $5, double that, and you are paying it no matter what. You can actually save not buying that coffee and paying for certification and actually make some money with it. So I always, whenever people ask for a cost, I'm like, take it as the investment. Don't look at it as, oh my goodness, all right? So good business owners understand the value of saving, on the time, because time is something you cannot buy back. But let me go back to you, Kelly. So it is a known fact that the larger organizations, the larger the organization, the more complex the supply chain. And last week, there were questions about opportunities in the regions. We are talking to the businesses in Atlantic Canada today, and are there opportunities for them in large supply chains like yours at EDC, or do you only work with large corporations, large businesses who are national and international?
Yeah, for sure. So there's lots of opportunities. So with our low dollar spend, we have a lot of flexibility as to who we're selecting as suppliers. We really can pick and choose who we want to work with. Where we have less flexibility is with our higher dollar spend, because we do have trade obligations. So any of our large procurements, we do post those publicly to MERCs. So that's somewhere that suppliers can regularly check is on MERCs. We're also sharing those with the certifying councils who share those out to the suppliers. But we do have a lot of flexibility with that low dollar spend. I recommend that suppliers complete our supplier registration form. I gave Jonathan the link, so if he wants to put that up, and then keep reaching out. Send what I've been having a lot of suppliers do is send their capability statements to us directly, and then we're trying to connect them with our internal buyers also. And I find if your capability statement is very clear as to what your service offerings are, it's a lot easier to direct you to the proper internal buyers.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kelly. And Aaron, another important concept in supply diversity is the tiers. This is actually something that when women-owned businesses are going to supply chains, they don't understand. So can you tell us more about what are the tiers, how they work, and what does it mean for businesses?
Sure. So generally what would be referred to as tier one spend is when a company spends directly with a certified diverse company for the supply of goods or services. And that could be any goods or services, but it is a spend by a customer with a diverse certified company. Tier two, so we are a corporate member, as Sylvia mentioned. We are not female owned, but we as a corporate member, one of the things we look to do is leverage the opportunity for tier two spend. And so that means, as a reseller, when we are purchasing a product that we will resell from a diverse business, that would be referred to as a tier two scenario. So clients like Nestle and Sodexo, primarily larger companies, will track not only tier 1, but also tier 2 spend. And if we think back to that value proposition conversation, a company may be looking at, whether it's through an RFP or an informal process, they may be looking at a number of different suppliers to provide a good or service. If they are not looking at, if they do not find a certified diverse supplier who's at the head of the pack in terms of the value proposition, they're often still looking for the best value proposition. And I would say that what we bring to the table as a corporate member is we're able to provide tier 2 spend to the extent that we are buying what I would refer to as our direct spend from companies I mentioned: Drizzle Honey, Calmer Pen, Redwood Classics, are all companies where we look to purchase and resell to customers. And what's important there is just also recognizing the channel of distribution. So in your business, 60% of you are selling to companies, and so of the attendees. So how many of you are looking to sell directly to companies, and how many are you looking to sell through a distributor? And there's not a right or wrong answer, but I would say it's important to understand your go-to-market strategy and your channels of distribution. So if you are selling particularly through distributors who have relationships with the corporate clients, there still is a tier 2 benefit for those corporate customers or government customers who purchase products that effectively come from WB or other diverse certified vendors. And then the other component for us in tier 2 would be the indirect spend. So things that we're not necessarily reselling to customers, like the professional services, like the freight forwarding, cleaners in our office, etc.
Mm-hmm. And I like to tell our VBs, it does not matter whether you are tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. What matters is that you get money. So money is the same, whether it's tier 1, tier 2, it just, where it's coming from. So I like to say, just find your place in a supply chain, find your fit, and go after those contracts, because that's where you should be spending your time and your resources. Money doesn't grow on trees, so we need to be very strategic about what we do. So Lisa, we all know it, large corporate supply chains are so complex and so complicated. So with all of that, how do you as a small business owner, find your way through the complexities?
Well, it is about first deciding who you want to talk to. So I have a target list. So I've gone through the corporate members and identified who I want to go after and have the capacity. And then it's into getting into the homework around, getting to know the companies, understanding the businesses a little bit more, making sure that they are the right company to go after. And then it's about gaining access to the buyers. And so obviously the events are a big one, but there's also this phenomenal database that has the contact person and an email for you to be able to do some outreach, to ask for a meeting or, figure out where you go. And then, as Sylvia, as you said, this is not a one and done, have the contract. This is enterprise. This is sales. This is complex B2B sales. This is about, often long sales cycles. So I've been doing this for 4 years as a member. It's about staying connected, building relationships, keeping the buyers updated. My business has evolved over the last 2 years. And so keeping them updated on how my services have evolved so that they can really understand both where, their needs are and I might be. And that's ongoing and being intentional. The other thing I would share is that I think you've got to be really clear in your asks. So know what it is you want. So once you've understood them, connected with the buyer, what is helpful, because sometimes, and in my own experience, I wasn't always as clear as I needed to be in my asks. And so, I think it's being clear. And part 2 to that would be, sometimes as women-owned business owners, we're not always as bold as we could be. So, being very bold and asking for very, reaching high and asking for as much as you can try and take on and do well.
Now I did it, Aaron. So thank you, Lisa. These are some really valid points. And I know you see me like really trying to get in as many questions. I have so many questions for you guys. So Kelly, Aaron, like I want to like, pull up the curtain a little bit and give our audience like a little bit of sneak peek behind the scenes of corporate membership. So both your organizations have been with WBE Canada for some time now. So, but there are organizations out there that are very hesitant to join membership because they feel like, oh, it's like expense, like we don't understand the value. So do you think it is worth the investment, or is it like really like seriously, why did we join WBE Canada? So what has your experience been so far? And there is also a question that I think is related to it. Does WBE Canada have a directory of certified suppliers? So whoever wants to start.
I can go.
Okay, Kelly.
Sure. Absolutely. I think being a member has been critical for us in developing our program and getting it off the ground. We've worked really closely with Sylvia over the last couple of years. We've met so many suppliers through all of the events, especially that first year where, it was all new to me for one thing, and everything was virtual because we were just beginning of the pandemic. And we really got to know a lot of suppliers. And like I've mentioned before, we were trying to make that connection with our internal buyers also, which I don't think, like if we're not a member, we wouldn't be having those connections. And then WBE also has full access to a database of suppliers. You can search up what you're looking for. And then also there's a lot of training resources, different training sessions with, there's been a few I've attended with Jamie Crump. And then there's also the accelerator program. So yes, I think it's absolutely worth the investment.
Yeah, thank you. Aaron, how about you?
Sure. So for us, it's really been a two-pronged decision. One is value-based, as I mentioned. So that's not only what our personal values are, but it's wanting to bring additional tools and values to life in our business. And I mentioned the Diversity Accelerator program that certainly was critical for us. One of the key decisions we chose WBE over other programs. The truth is, it's also differentiated. Corporate membership is a differentiator in a crowded market. So we have literally thousands of competitors across Canada. Staples, Cotton Candy, Genumark, Full Line. We have a few who are also WBE corporate members, and a shout out to them for leading the way in this space. And we're pleased to be part of that. But that's 5 out of thousands. So for the clients who care about diversity, for the cultures internally who care about diversity, it's a differentiator. So that's a big piece of it for us. Yes, certainly worth the investment. We're looking to get continually more value, but like anything else, it's you get out what you put in. So, sometimes it is a challenge to make, with competing priorities, but certainly we see tremendous value in the opportunity to gain more. And relative to budget, we didn't go out and join be a corporate member of every organization. We started with one where we're seeing value, and over time, as we realize more value, we'll look to potentially expand that to other organizations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's something that you mentioned about like that community that we have in supplier diversity. You can actually sit at the same table with your competitors and you can talk, you can have a conversation. So supplier diversity is a space like none other out there where competitors actually talk and they discuss the strategies and help each other, because supplier diversity helps all involved. So it's not just corporates helping corporates, it's corporates helping WBEs, WBEs helping corporates, and so on. We are creating and co-creating this space together. So good points. So Denise, Lisa, I do want to go back to certification on your end. Anything else you would like to add to the value on that end?
I have 4 quick stories, and I'll be super efficient on them, Sylvia, but I think they really put it into perspective for the business owners that are on there. So the first one would be, I'm RBC alumni, and I had thought I had really great connections into RBC when I started selling into them. And I had some executives who were helping me as well. The WBE certification expanded that network even more and gave me more access than I would have thought possible. And as well, they helped to validate some of that. So that was hugely powerful for me. The second was being invited to an RFP with a corporate that I wasn't on my hit list, but it was a phenomenal opportunity. We finished number 2, but there was a ton of learning, and I continue to have conversations with that company around doing work. So they're obviously working on some things. So that was a door open that never expected. The third would be a story similar to Aaron's. I used the WBE database to find digital marketing suppliers, and I sourced and hired a new company. So end of May, we started working with Ethical Digital, who's WBE certified. And then the final one, which I think, Sylvia, you will like, it builds into the national conference. So last national conference, WBE came out with a sponsorship opportunity. And when I looked at that, I said, I'm in. It felt like, for a business, that was really a wonderful opportunity. WBE did a phenomenal job of, making my investment really matter. And I think one of my really proud moments were when WBE came out with the showing the sponsorships and provided the levels of sponsorship. And my level of sponsorship came out, and there was Pivotal Growth, RBC, EY, Bell, and Government of Canada. And that was such a proud moment that I was with these amazing, prestigious corporations. And particularly proud for me was that, RBC and EY are corporations that I worked in, and so are near and dear to me. And so it was like this proud moment. And so, so many elements and layers to that. But, for me, that was a really wonderful moment of success that was enabled by WBE Canada and my certification.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Denise.
As I mentioned earlier, I'm headed to Toronto for my first live conference, and I'm meeting with a manufacturer. They are not a corporate member, but they are meeting me because I am WBE, and we're about to start a procurement with them.
Yeah, amazing.
And I would have never even had the opportunity because they wouldn't have recognized us as a diverse company. Number 2, which I should have said before, but just because you're put in touch with somebody that is head of procurement doesn't always mean they're the one you need to talk to. They might be in a completely different division. And I have done this with 2 manufacturers saying, please put me in touch with this department because I know who I'm looking for. And they've done it. Mm-hmm. And back to Aaron's being tier 2. Well, who reconditions your unit? Someone's cleaning them. Put me in touch with them. I'll be a tier 2. I'm okay with that. So again, back to research. Research, know what you're dealing with, know who they're dealing with, so you know where you fit. But these are opportunities that I'm very excited for this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you brought up a very important point that many times people look at our website and are like, who is your corporate member? Like, who can I access? Well, the pool of potential prospects is much bigger, right? Because there are other corporations who recognize certification and want to include diverse suppliers in their supply chains, but they are not necessarily members of WBE Canada. So the impact of certification or the access that it provides is much bigger than just our database or our membership. So that is very important. Thank you for bringing it up, Denise. So Kelly and Aaron, if you had a magic wand, what do you wish corporate and government supply chains would look like 5 to 10 years down the road? What do you want to see? Maybe start with Aaron this time.
Sure. So as a general comment, I wish procurement would be more open to alternative solutions as a means of delivering value to stakeholders, because too often, particularly with large companies, we get, essentially a formal process where procurement has worked with the business stakeholders to define requirements. And sometimes that's done well and sometimes it's not. But what it's generally about is four corners of a box. They think they know the solution that they want, and it may be the right solution, but too often I would say that those processes are a little too rigid to the point where it's difficult to articulate a value proposition that you want to bring forward. And so I'll just tell you a little trick that I learned along the way. It doesn't always work, particularly when it's driven by a technology like Ariba. But sometimes what we have done is we have submitted what we call a compliant RFP and a non-compliant RFP and response. And so the idea being you want to give them the response they're looking for. And if you overreach, you may be disqualified. So on occasion where there's the opportunity, we've said, here's the response that we think you're looking for. And if that's all you want to consider, it's there, tied nicely with a ribbon. But other times it's also, here's the value proposition we think that we could bring to the table that might not be able to be presented within the formal RFP process. So not specific to diversity, but that's what I'd say. I wish the procurement would be more open to alternative solutions to satisfy a business need. And then overall, I would like them to ask more open-ended questions, because I believe it gives companies the opportunity to say, here's how we can deliver value that you might not be thinking of. And that could come from diversity, it could come from sustainability, from a unique proprietary technology, process, or service. But I'd like procurement to be a little less structured in the ask sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, don't we all wish that?
Also,
right?
I'd say that from a process point of view, I like where there's an opportunity where businesses are encouraged to comment on the process. Now, sometimes that's after the fact, but where we see that, sometimes we have an opportunity to move the needle in terms of how the process runs.
Mm-hmm. That's a good one. Yeah, Kelly, how about you? Magic wand.
So, yeah, I hope to see that supplier diversity is fully entrenched into our day-to-day operations, same with other government departments, and that it's really not even a question, right? It's just something we're doing all the time. And then also that our line of business champions, so what we're trying to define this year too, they're knowledgeable about diverse suppliers and the policies and procedures that we put in place. And again, it's just day to day, it's entrenched in our day to day operations. And then lastly, that our reporting metrics have been defined and we can really show the impact that we're making with supplier diversity.
These are good ones. I love those. So, Lisa, Denise, what role do you think supplier diversity and diverse suppliers, women-owned businesses, will play in the economic recovery of Canada post-pandemic? Who wants to start?
I'll start. It's funny. I'll tell a little story. We found the supplier we deal with direct, we never had a problem with any of our products. We were always able to get it. And I was out there talking to people and they were like, no, we can't get that. No, we can't get that. And I was like, oh, we have no problem. Did we have price increases just recently because of delivery? Yes, but we were always able to get the product. And I was sitting with a warehouse with boxes and boxes of face masks and rubber gloves. And I was reaching out and I could not get a hold of anybody that wanted them. I got to the point I was going to give them to the hospital even, and no one would ever respond. So with being WBE in diversity, it's going to open up the market for more opportunities both ways. I'm sure a lot of people are stuck saying, we can't get that product. We don't know what to do because we've relied on this one company forever, and nothing against that company. They just couldn't get their products. So I think you're going to see, again, a more united front, that people are going to realize they need everyone, not just who they've always dealt with.
Thank you, Lisa.
I think for me, the reflection would be there's been this investment and sustained investment in supplier diversity all through the pandemic. And it's created this condition and climate of trust-based buying and familiarity that, I'm optimistic that return on investment starts to play, so that the momentum, while slowed, it didn't falter. I mean, the WBE leadership was very committed to continuing the connectivity between the buyers and the business owners. And so I believe that the work that's there and has continued will start to play out even more robustly. And I'm always so appreciative of, buyers like Aaron and Kelly in the way that they just stay committed and connected, because there's a mixture of doing the role and the work, but there's also an advocacy on moving the needle within their organizations and in the sector. And so it feels like there's some really great momentum that's happening that we can all benefit from, right? This is a win-win-win that's starting to play out well.
Yeah, and I love that. Yeah, we need those wins all across the country, and more support for diverse businesses, and more diversity in supply chains for sure. Okay, so for all of you, any final tips or recommendations for those listening today? So we do have an audience of some corporations, some buying organizations, as well as some suppliers, so women-owned businesses particularly. So anything you would like to just have them take with them after today's call?
The one thing, Kelly, you talked about the capability statement. I think that's a really powerful tool. So it's essentially, we all have a one-pager that summarizes our organization and what we do, and this connects to that value proposition. And that was probably one of the hardest documents to write, to try and concisely put in one page. And whether you're WBE certified or not, I think that, that going through something like that really gets to that compelling value proposition, that why, and obviously tailoring it depending on the industry or the client or the buyer, I think is a best practice. And WBE Canada has done a really great job of teaching us, encouraging that, and nurturing that. So, while it's a very small piece, it's a really important foundation that we've all continued to, we then take that capability statement to market. So I think that's a really great, I didn't know anything about capability statements before joining the WBE Canada community.
Awesome. Thank you, Lisa.
I will also say, know your why. And the hardest thing was that introduction of 1 minute, 1.5 minutes. When you try to narrow down who you are, practice that, and then you realize you're not going into depth, you're going to the point, you're being direct, and people like that. But it actually teaches you your confidence in who you are, along with the capability statement. I agree with you, Lisa. I was like, what? But the support that we've had, I mean, Sylvia, you also champion for all of us, so we're lucky to have a good leader as well. So all of it works together as a whole.
So from my point of view, three things I would touch on. And some of this is a bit of an echo of what we've talked about already, but know your why. And by that, I mean, know why you're in this journey. Right. So is it because you're trying to get more business? Is it because, it's consistent with your values? But if you know your why, it's easier to bring it to life. Right. And if you are interested, start the journey. We all know the proverb, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next best time is today. It's not about perfection. It's about progress. And in that journey, I would encourage you, as Denise has mentioned several times, leverage like-minded peers. Sylvia mentioned, sometimes we're competitors, but competitors are also peers. And if you're sincere and from a values point of view and wanting to make progress in this space, you're not afraid to, sit down with competitors and treat them as peers in this space.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Kelly?
I'd say on the corporate side, if you're looking to get into supplier diversity, just get started. I mean, we're 2 people working on this over the last couple of years. We have our regular daytime job, this is just a piece of it, and little strides help. So as much as you can do, just get started.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fantastic conversations. We could keep going, but I am watching the time and oh my goodness, we answered some of your questions along the way. So I do hope that you are leaving with with the responses to your questions. And I just want to thank Aaron, Denise, Kelly, and Lisa for joining us today, for shedding some light into like the actuals, behind the scenes. How do they make supplier diversity work for their businesses or organizations, and the opportunities that supplier diversity presents. So if you have additional questions after today's call, feel free to reach out to WBE Canada's team at events@wbcanada.ca. We'll be happy to talk to you, to support you, to help you answer any additional questions. And I'm going to ask our panelists, so once I get them off the camera, to actually post their contact information, whatever they want to share with the audience, so that they can connect with you with any additional questions. So that brings us to the end. I want to thank Judith for the partnership, and she has a lot of important information to share with you. So I'm going to just hand it over to her.
I'll again echo Aaron, Lisa, Kelly, Denise. Thank you.
Judith, you have some echo in there, so I don't know if you are in twice.
Nope, not in twice.
Okay, try, but we are getting echo from your line. Maybe mute the computer
now.
Maybe turn down the volume. Maybe we are picking up your sound. And just keep the microphone on, and you won't be able to hear me. Okay, try talking.
How about now?
Still echo.
Still echo. It was fine earlier.
Yeah. So let me pick it up. I hope I remember what we wanted to discuss. So first of all of you are invited to July 13th to join us in Halifax. We are hosting all the councils in partnership with CWB, as well as NSBI. We are hosting a day in Halifax. We are going to be discussing supplier diversity. It will be my absolute pleasure to be meeting everybody in person. So if you can still get your flight tickets in, or get in a car and drive down to Halifax, we'll be happy to have you. We'll have afternoon meetings with some of the corporations and governments who are eager to meet women-owned and other diverse businesses. And we are also, CWB Nova Scotia and WBE Canada are building up a mentorship program, which is going to start in September. So the applications will be opening in July. The mentorship program will be available only to certified WBE certified women business enterprises. So if you were not sure whether you want to get certified or not, that is another bonus that is coming your way. And that mentorship is going to be absolutely free to women-owned businesses to really help you get the biggest value for your buck. Judith, can you try again?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to let you just say it because I know you have a better gig than I do. So I will deal with that echo.
Great. So this is the first time event in Atlantic Canada that we literally, ACOA has sponsored. Working with WBE Canada, there will be training. You will receive a corporate mentor and a tier 1 mentor to work with, as well as masterminding in a cohort of 10. And we will be doing 3 cohorts. And again, with ACOA funding, what's going to cost you the most is time and effort to put into this. And it will, we're looking at this accelerating things exponentially. We will also, as a group, be working together to attend the conference in November and work the conference appropriately so that everybody knows that Atlantic Canada cohort is in attendance. That will be launched later in July. I posted both the Center for Women in Business and the newsletter link and the WBE Canada newsletter link. I posted my email a couple of times in chat. So fantastic. And I'll be reaching out to many to talk more about the membership program.
Okay, so we are super excited. Judith and I, we are very busy working on the details behind the scenes. So it's all coming along very nicely. So again, for those of you who are certified VBs, we are so happy. We hope that you will submit your applications. And as Judith mentioned, there will be 3 cohorts. So if you don't get into the first one, we will keep your application for the second and then the third. So lots of fantastic opportunities coming your way. We'll see you in Halifax, July 13th. And we'll also see you November 9th, 10th at WBE Canada's National Conference. And I'm hoping that you will see all 4 panelists, Judith and I, we will definitely be there, and we'll be happy to meet you in person. So from our end, thank you so much for joining us today. And I wish you a wonderful rest of the day and good luck on your business journey. So once again, Lisa, Denise, Kelly, Aaron, thank you so much for all the wisdom, tips, and recommendations.
Thanks.
Bye-bye, everybody.
All right. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Cheers.